What's up, everybody? Welcome to the video. Today is Friday. I've had 2 days off in a row because I've been a bit ill, and I think my tip for you guys is gauge the illness, see how ill you are, and go from there. If you are bunged up and feeling inflamed and a bit shitty, it's not a good idea to go and do something that's going to inflame you even more. If you're in a high inflammatory environment, circa being ill, it's not a good idea to go put more inflammation in your body from like a heavy session. I had legs scheduled. There is no, like, if you've seen my leg sessions, in fact, you're going to see my leg session today, you're going to see that there's no way that you can be doing that while you're ill. So be smart, take a day off. Today's Friday, which means I have half of my Arimidex today. I do half a milligram every 3 days, just to keep my estrogen in check. I have got another blood test coming next week, which is going to show me where my prolactin is, and if we brought my prolactin down from not smoking weed for so long. It's been 2.5 weeks now. I feel pretty good now. I feel like completely over it. I feel actually like pretty good all round. I've got a little bit left up my nose, but we feel pretty good. Pre-workout of choice today, MVP off Insight Supplements. Freedom Pop flavor is absolutely lush. Check out Insight Subs. If you are a stim junkie, if you are a pre-workout connoisseur, which I love to be, I've got more pre-workouts just sitting there, right there, which you cannot see because I can't focus this. Insight Supplements is the place for you. It's very, very high quality. Josh 10 for discount. So yeah, I'm going to load up one of these. I've got my intro ready, and let's get into the workout. And I'm going to explain to you why I train the way I train a little bit later on. But let's get into legs. So I currently start every leg session with adductors. Who trains adductors? I do. I've got big fucking adductors and they look awesome from the back. The little bits down the middle when you're hitting that pose. It really stands out on stage. Highly neglected portion of the body, physique. I just do 2 sets, both failure, 8 to 12 and 12 to 15. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. That session 100% ruined me. Very, very difficult session today. Obviously, I had 2 days off being ill, so it makes sense that it was a little bit hard. But we still got PBs all around, we're still progressing. Now, I want to explain why I train the way I do. So for those of you guys who don't follow me on Instagram, you probably know a little bit less about this, but I follow a high frequency, low volume, high intensity program. Now, the reason why I opt for this is because, yes, volume is the driver for hypertrophy. So the more amount of volume you can put into a muscle, the more it's going to grow. Let's say and the way you work out volume is weight times reps times sets. Yeah. So let's say you do 100 times 1 times 1. Yeah. Your volume is 100. Like you put 100 kilos of weight through that muscle. You know that you need to increase that next week. So 110, 120, etc., etc., etc. Now, obviously, there's going to be a point of increasing volume. Talking about like working volume in a session of diminishing returns. So as volume comes up in a session, intensity needs to come down. Yeah. But the reason why I don't like to work off an RPE, which we say rate of perceived exertion. So for example, I give you a higher volume program and I say I want you to work at like a 7 out of 10 so you can accumulate more volume over time. Now that does make sense, and I know people that it works for. In fact, there's some very, very good bodybuilders that use that method, and it's very like thought out. But here's the thing: I feel like not optimal right now, yeah. And I go in, and my RP, my rate of perceived exertion, is naturally going to be higher than when I feel good and feel fresh and feel on the ball. So working off the RP is quite difficult for me personally. Not only that, but when I do say personally, I mean me personally. My outlook, my preferences, my personality, just like to fucking go balls to the wall. And I think a lot of bodybuilders have that same personality of like all or nothing. And I think the high intensity, maximum failure, mechanical failure, guys. So we're not pushing injuries here. We're going to maximum mechanical failure when the muscle cannot do anymore. Not just trying to fucking sling weight up. We're doing it controlled. I think it suits a lot of bodybuilders. I think that's why a lot of bodybuilders do it. I think that's why a lot of the top bodybuilders will do it. Trained by JP, Callum Raystreet, the Muscle Mentors. That's why they program like this, because it suits their personality. And also, you are sending a big fucking signal, if it's very, very intense, to that muscle to grow. You're trying to force adaptation into that muscle. Yeah, the muscle receives a stimulus, aka training. It then has to, get inflamed after the muscles are broken down. The bigger the tearings as such, obviously within reason, the bigger the inflammation, the bigger the adaptation response is. You need to push that adaptation response in it, and that just comes from overloading volume. Now, the reason why I do a high frequency is because it allows you to get more volume in the week. Let's say you want to do 20 sets on your chest a week, but you only do one session. Like, of those 20 sets, if you're working, close to failure, how much of that is going to be good work, like really, really good work? my bet is not a lot unless you're not training that hard. You know, if you're training like I do, there is no way in hell you're doing 20 sets per week on your chest in one session. That's where the frequency comes in, because it allows you. It's like a facilitator for more volume. So you know, if you train chest every other day and you do 4 sets, you know, you accumulate more volume over that week. So that is where the frequency comes in. It's not necessarily that you're sending a muscle building signal more frequently. Maybe that does play a part, I don't know enough about it, but it's actually just a facilitator to put more volume into your workouts, which is why it doesn't make sense for you to do a bro split, you know, chest, back, shoulders, arms, legs, or whatever it is, you know. It makes sense for you to couple muscles together and separate that volume over the week, so that those sets are very, very effective in that session, and you can accumulate more over the week versus just doing it all in one. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure it still works, you know, I'm sure you can still progress, I'm sure you can still increase volume, but I think that this way is better. I think you can accumulate more volume like this, as long as recovery management is in place. That is generally what the RPE dudes would say about going to failure training, is that, oh, you can't recover from that. Well, I've been doing this for nearly 2 years now, and I touch wood, you know, I fucking hope this doesn't jinx it, but I've not really had any injuries. And I've not really stopped progressing, and if I have, I've put in things in place, deloads, and I'll reload back into a new training split, etc, etc. So it's all about recovery management. If you're training like this, you need to sleep good, you need to make sure you're fueling yourself right, you know, peri-workout nutrition, regular protein feedings, you know, sleep, all that stuff that I talk about all the time in terms of recovery, that needs to be optimal as well. And I think you could probably get away with less optimality on recovery if you did the RPE type stuff. This is no way a knock against the people that do RPE stuff. I'm sure they think it's safer. It probably is a little bit safer. But my personality, my outlook is that definitely the high intensity, high frequency, lower volume accounts for it. Now, the reason why we do lower volume is what I said earlier. We want to make those sets count. But also, if you're just that person who's been doing 4 sets and you think, fuck, I can't get my bench press up. And I get this message a lot. I can't get my squat up. I can't get my bench press up. How much are you doing? Oh, I do 4 sets of, you know, 5 or 5 by 5 or 4 sets of 8 to 12. Well, there's your problem. You're doing too much to be able to recover from it. You know, so try 2 sets. And I guarantee you, if you do 2 sets and that's it in your workout, the next time you come back to it, that will go up. Yes, that might not be enough training volume, but you can guarantee that will go up. So the balance is finding that minimum effective volume for progression without compromising fatigue and recovery. So if for example, for me, let's say my chest, I can handle a decent amount of pushing on my chest, because that's my genetic strong point, my pushing, my overhead pushing and my pressing. So that's my genetic strong point. So I can handle a little bit more volume. I can do that 6-7 sets in a session and recover again to do that again in about 3 days, 4 days. But that's taking me time. And you know what I did when I first started? I did 6 sets a week. That's how I started with my chest sessions. I started with 6 sets a week. I did it for about 6 weeks. I felt good. Let's try 8 sets. Did that again. Feel good. 10 sets, you know, and you increment it up, gauging fatigue, gauging your biofeedback and internal results. Your body, you're going to feel better than any coach is going to know. You know, you're going to wake up and be like, fuck me, that session battered me. There you go. Like, and then if you've got that session scheduled again in 3 days and you think, I'm still wrecked, that is your telling sign that you're doing too much volume. So that's when you would pull that back. So to cap that off, to give yourself points to take from that, I don't work off RPE because RPE changes daily and it's quite hard to understand. And to get that volume perfect and to go through undulating periodization, I get it. It makes sense. As volume comes up, intensity comes down, and as intensity goes up, and you go through periods of doing this. But I don't know how exact that's going to be. Whereas if you're doing 2 sets, maybe 3 sets, if you're feeling naughty, if you've got that very good recovery management. I'm personally someone who prefers the 2 sets, because 3 sets always seems to fuck me over. You set yourself 2 or 3 rep ranges, a lower one, 6 to 10, maybe a medium one, 10 to 15, and then maybe a higher one, 20 to 30. Throughout your session, You get strong as fuck over those rep ranges, your volume goes up. So if I set you 2 sets, you cannot move up. The only thing that goes up is reps or weight. That is increase in volume every single week. Now, the reason why we focus on strength versus reps or sets is because strength, for me, is infinitely progressible. Until you are the strongest human on this planet, there is no reason why you cannot get stronger every single week. But there is no way that you can continually add sets every single week. There is no way that you can continually add reps every single week, which is why the guys who do RPE will go through phases of lower volume training. So they desensitize themselves. So they'll bring themselves down to baseline volume, and then they'll do an 8 to 16 week meso cycle where they'll increase volume again, and then they'll have to back off again for 4 to 6 weeks. I don't have that desensitization period. I just have those set things. I increase volume and I increase volume and I increase volume and I keep increasing volume until shit gets hard, movements get hard, and then I just swap them out. I do a deload, I reset, I take a little week off, with maybe 3 sessions, 4 sessions just to keep the movement patterns. I then change a few fundamental exercises, maybe a few strength profiles, and I go again. And you know what? The same results happened. I keep that same training sets, training reps range, but my strength just goes up and up and up and up. I did this naturally. I'm now doing this while I'm on gear. It doesn't make a difference when you do it. Strength is infinitely progressible, therefore volume technically is infinitely progressible. That is my method behind it. That is why I do it. I hope that makes sense to you. Sometimes these things don't come out the way I'm thinking them, but I feel like that makes sense. So that's why I train the way I do. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I am absolutely wrecked. I think I'll be doing a full day of eating video very, very soon, probably in the next 2 videos. Food is up towards 5,000 calories. So bearing in mind, I don't count trace macros. So if I'm eating oats, I only count the carbs. I don't count the fats and protein in it. So my food's probably a lot higher. But I have 225 grams of protein from highly bioavailable sources. That means I'm only counting stuff from meat, whey, eggs, and then anything else that's in say I have square bars, there's like 2 grams of protein in that. I don't count that. So I'm actually probably more towards 240, 250 grams of protein. I then have 700 grams of carbs, the exact same thing. I'm probably up towards 750. And then fats, I only count from whole fat sources like oil, eggs, avocados, things like that. So I'm probably way up as well, but I'm on 50 grams of carbs on training days, which is about 4,700 calories. And then if you add those extra ones in, I'm plus 5,000 at the moment. And then non-training days, I pull my carbohydrates down because I have a less glycolytic demand. We talked about glycogen and prioritizing that around the workout in the last video. So I have about 350 carb, and I put my fat way up to make sure that the calorie difference isn't too much. So I have 120 grams of fat, and then same protein. So that's where I'm at, but I'll show you a full day of eating, how I set things up, exactly with the foods. I feel good, like I feel thick today. I was 102.6 kilos today, and I'm just going up and up and up. So we've got about 7 weeks left for prep, 8 weeks left for prep. Head down, making this 8 weeks count. I'm excited. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, guys. See you soon. Peace.